Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to get an update on the disparity study. I know this was an issue with last year's budget and the funding, and we were hopeful that there would be some funding available to do that. And I know that we're due to get a new disparity study just to justify our contract compliance and the other goals that we've set.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, the enhancement for additional $150,000 for 2016 is in the Contract Compliance Division budget. Do you want to go back to the slide? If you recall, we also got $150,000 approved in the 2015 budget for a total of $300,000. So $150,000 this year, $150,000 request for 2016. And the reason we are estimating that should be sufficient, and again, it's an estimate, is because we are collaborating on the disparity study with the Minnesota Department of Administration, the Metropolitan Council, the City of St. Paul, and other state agencies. So there is an RFP that has already been issued to hire a consultant and to begin, the process has already begun, collecting data, understanding the different jurisdictions and municipalities. And the plan is to actually fully implement that and get the consultant on board to do the study in 2016.
And so the RFP is already out the door?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, it is.
And when are we expecting?
December.
Okay.
December.
Thank you.
Not seeing any further questions. I appreciate your presentation and taking the time to answer those questions. Very worth highlighting. Thank you very much. I think we'll be able to go to the next presentation, which is the Youth Coordinating Board. We're going to need a few moments of transition between those. I saw Andy Groot out there. Look at this interdepartment cooperation. Good.
Ready for me?
We are welcome. This is the budget hearing on the Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board. This is on page H6 of the Independent Boards section of the budget book, and we welcome Mr. Groot as the director of that department.
Thank you, Councilmember Quincy and members of the committee. I also appreciate our board chair, Cam Gordon, being here today. So thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Appreciate that. The Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board, most of you know of us, and one of our board members, Councilmember Palmisano, is also here today, which I appreciate very much. So we have people with a lot of knowledge of the Youth Coordinating Board, as Councilmember Quincy also was on our board at one point. So the Youth Coordinating Board essentially, thank you, has one purpose, and it is to make Minneapolis the best city in the United States for children, young people, and their families. So that's the reason that we exist. We've been around, this is our 30th year, by the way, and so we're pleased to say for 30 years we have been working to try to make this the best city in the country for children, young people, and their families.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Our work is framed around something that we call the call to action. And the call to action has 4 goals, which you see now on the screen. And they range the length or the time of a child's life from prenatal care until they're 21 years old. And so we have 4 goals that we work on daily to ensure that children do well. And you can see those up there. That group is, or that team of goals is coordinated by a coordinating team of people from the 4 public jurisdictions who work with us to help define what the focus of each of those goals should be and what we should do to implement those goals on a regular basis. This is our draft budget for 2016. Our budget will be final after our board reviews it and hopefully approves it in December. But this is our entire budget that you have before you for your information. And we thought you might like to see that as we move forward. The next slide shows the funding specifically from the city for the work that we do. And you can see that the city's money really goes into 4 general areas. Really, yes, 4 areas. One is that we are able to reallocate some of this money to our public partners in community education, the libraries and the parks, to provide after-school and summer activities for children. In the first 6 months of the year, those 3 entities provided about 3,500 kids services through after-school activities through this funding. Additionally, we will get the next half of the year, which includes summer, which is usually bigger. So that's one of the ways that we spend the money that you allocate to us. The second is support of the Minneapolis Youth Congress. Many of you know the Youth Congress. You've seen them in this chamber. You will keep seeing them in this chamber. But they work with children, 8th grade through 12th grade, and we help make sure that their voices are integrated into the policy work that we do and the policy work that you all do. The next area is a really newer area, which you allocated funds for last year, and in this budget, the mayor has requested that this funding become base support, and that is support the Minneapolis Outreach Team downtown, where we have a group of youth work professionals who work downtown in the summertime to help engage our young people. That has resulted in a reduction of crime, and we're delighted about that. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit longer. And then some of the funding is used to help support the work of the YCB generally in the community. So let me talk about the downtown team a little bit here. We have, I'd like to introduce a couple people who came today to stand with me and also to be here for you so that you can see the faces of some of the people who we work with. Shane Zahn, many of you know from the Downtown Improvement District, is here. And the Downtown Improvement District supports this project with $31,000 as well, and is very supportive of it. Shane has been a great advocate for us. Also, Assistant Chief Arredondo is here, who was the inspector downtown last year when we came, and is a great supporter of this project, and I appreciate you both being here. Additionally, our lead youth work professional, Carol Lewis, is here, who coordinates the team, makes it run, and does the work of training and working with the police and the Downtown Improvement District as well. So this team has been very successful. We're very pleased with it. Last year, in addition to being downtown, the school district contracted with us to come into 3 schools, Henry, Roosevelt, and South, to assist them in the same manner. We are currently in Henry this year as well. Here's just some information about our downtown team as well, so that you can see really some of the things that we do and how people know about us. Then we have the Minneapolis Youth Congress, and you can see this is a sheet that talks a little bit about the work that they do. We, in fact, are going to be, well, we aren't. Judge Daly will be administering the oath of office to our team this Thursday here in City Hall downstairs by the Father of Waters statue. Come by. It's a great event, 5:30. The young people get dressed up and they come and they raise their hands and they take the oath of office and begin their year with us, at which time now they're in training. So please feel free to come to that. But you can see a list of some of the things that they've done over the years and that they continue to be engaged in. So the Youth Congress is really one of our core programs. It is the way that young people have have access to our public systems to be able to give their input about what they think young people would like to see. No decision about us without us is their motto, and we take that seriously at the Youth Coordinating Board. I also want to introduce Jack Tamble. Some of you know Jack. Jack is the Executive Director of Community Ed. Jack's been a longtime friend. And the reason I introduced Jack is because some of the funding that you allocate to us goes to Community Ed program over at Minneapolis Public Schools. Thank you for joining us, Jack. So with that, I will put aside my talking and ask if you have any questions.
I'm not seeing any, but thank you very much for the presentation. I'm more than happy to make a comment or two, but will yield to the Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Groot, when I'm looking at your budget, we have a $306,000 general fund contribution. The county puts in $450 through this local collaborative, I forget the acronym.
Time study.
Okay, time study. And are those federal dollars? Is that?
They come through the federal government, to the state, to the county.
Yeah,
and to
okay,
us, yes.
okay.
That's correct.
And the school district and the park board, their contribution to this effort is from their general fund or whatever you would call it is $79,000.
So each of our council chair, council president, and members of the committee, each of our entities, our 4 public entities, pays us a joint powers fee, and that's what's reflected there.
Okay,
The schools, the schools, the county, and the city all pay around $65,000, and the parks pay around $15,000.
okay. But there is no other, like a general fund support from park board, like our general fund support from park board or school district in this partnership?
The county's LCTS money, I think, would account for that, but from the schools and the parks, not at this time.
Okay, okay. Just one thing, and I'm just bringing this up, and I've been here a long time. One of the things I remain disappointed about is sort of the lack of use of our existing facilities for young people. And I specifically look at 4 new schools that were developed since I came on the city council in North Minneapolis. And, having participated in the site selection where they're going to go, and then planning a community access to the facilities, we had all of them that were, what would you call it, wired separately so that, in parts of the school could be available for community use.
Yes.
And I'm talking about the gymnasiums in particular. And I still see and hear from people who are interested in providing youth programming in the community that they don't have access to these buildings. And I'm talking about Lucy Craft Laney School, Jordan School, Nellie Stone Johnson School, Jenny Lynn School, all in, and City View School, actually five schools that have been built since I've come on the council, that those facilities are not available for evening and weekend use for young people. And when we planned those buildings, that we specifically, provided for gymnasium space that would be available for community use. And somehow we haven't gotten to the point that we're able to do that. And I think it's a real issue for people, again, that want to provide community activities for young people. And we just make it so hard. So I would just encourage you as you move forward. I hear people talking about this at times, and so I know that you're trying to deal with it. But to me, that's a real waste of dollars that have been expended by the public that aren't available for kids to use. And I just think that's a real problem. So hopefully make some progress on that. And I would be happy to help in any way that I can in that effort. I met 2 months ago with Coach McKenzie he's at North right now, but been all over. And, he has young people that want to get into these buildings and, can provide positive activities for them. And it's really a shame when public buildings aren't open for community use. So I'd love to work with you on that.
Mr. Chairperson, Council President, members of the committee, here, first of all. Secondly, there is a group working on that. And third, this is one of the reasons that I'm happy that my colleague Jack Tample is here, because Jack does have some influence in that area in the school district, and we can take back what you said to the superintendent. And I think that our children do need more space, and we do have one of the greatest things about Minneapolis is we have tremendous assets in this city, all kinds of them. We're forever grateful that the library allows us to use Central Library for the Youth Congress whenever we need it at no cost. So we have tremendous assets and we should use them. So I heartily agree with you, and we'll pass that information on to the superintendent and tell them of your willingness to be helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, and thank you. And I'm so glad you mentioned the libraries. I just want to put a plug in for the fantastic work that our libraries do with young people. And they have turned, in my ward, North Regional Library is a hub for young people. When you walk in there at 4:00 in the afternoon, it's unbelievable. And it's all about the librarians being welcoming to young people and understanding the kind of things that they want to do, the homework they need to get done, but then also their other interests. And they do just a fantastic job. So when I look back at, it was a challenging decision to make to move to a merger with Hennepin County with our library system, but I think they've done our young people a really great service in offering a lot of programming across our city. So thank you.
I certainly would echo that. I know you've been very involved in the work we've done at the city in terms of the youth cabinet, which is not a replacement of the youth coordinating board. It's obviously just internal staff, but you brought those ideas and resources to us, and it's something we recognized right away. If the primary goal is to provide quality out of school time, whether it's after school, before school, or during the summer months, how do we make use of those assets that the council president was just highlighting? And when our planning department comes up and writes this map of where kids are at and where they're located and what kind of resources are there, now it's just making that action implemented. And can you talk a little bit about What's Up 612 and how we're reaching out and more community partners and opportunities for kids to get engaged?
Oh, Mr. Chairperson, members of the committee, thank you for that question. It's great. So the Youth Coordinating Board has for a long time been involved in working to better coordinate after school and summer activities for children and young people. About 3 years ago, we received a fairly large grant from the Youth Prize Foundation to really develop that infrastructure so that it's not just sort of something that kind of happens, but something that really happens. And one of the very first things that we did was to put together an electronic program finder for teens and parents called What's Up 612. And it went live this last spring, just in anticipation of summer. It is currently pretty highly used. I don't have a number for you, but I know that it's being used, and we're adding to it all the time. So our standard partners, if you will, the libraries, the schools, and the parks are all included in this program finder, but we are always adding new organizations to the program finder and are looking for ways to make sure that our community understands the huge amount of things that kids can do here outside of school. Additionally, we have a resource section that talks about employment, that talks about housing, that talks about health, that helps young people navigate the other kinds of things that they might need. And that section is actually growing pretty rapidly. So we look forward to adding to that. Let me also just say something else about that, because it's related to a relationship that we have with the city. The city has been extremely helpful to us in implementing this, and is extremely helpful to us in thinking through how we expand it. So as the city planning department and others look at maps and information about where kids are and what they're doing, we're finding ways to connect it to the program finder so that people have a one-stop shop. So I've appreciated that. I'm talking to some of your staff right now about data. The Minneapolis Health Department actually puts together the data for our YCB reports. They do that for us, and there's some new data coming out that we are going to be able to use. So it's been a great opportunity, in part through the youth cabinet, to be able to bring some of those resources together. And some of these things we couldn't have done 20 years ago, but the electronic systems allow us to do things we weren't able to do before.
Yeah, I thank you for that very much. And I just want to add one more element where YCBN is coordinated with what the city's been doing. And it's another partnership that we've created through the work of the Downtown Council and Downtown Improvement District around the what are we going to do with Nicollet Mall? So at the Nicollet Mall livability, and I see Shane and Rondo, of course, but the youth outreach teams have been remarkable we're talking about what kids do downtown, because it is a safe place for kids to come to. And whenever you have kids come to it, it brings those issues and challenges. So having the street outreach team out there engaging with youth in a positive way is a real great step forward for downtown public safety issues as relates to a growing and vital downtown space. So thank you for that role.
Thank you, Councilman.
And this guy back here, he only has like 2 T-shirts. One is black and one is yellow, but he's everywhere, and everybody knows him. So thank you for coming. You bet. Carol, we have Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much, and I just wanted to add a couple things. I really think that our youth coordinating board provides an enormous resource to the city and even to the region here. I appreciate that you brought up the youth outreach workers. That's something that's been developed in the last couple of years, and there seems to be more and more growing interest even from the school district to use that. And so I think that's one of the great programs that we're doing, and also all the work that we're doing for after school, kind of finding that niche and how we're going to fix and work on that out of school time. And I do think we're trying to leverage our partners with the schools and those buildings as well as the parks to try and do more. And that's something that does come up. It's actually a very unique opportunity because we do have policymakers from all of those jurisdictions at the table. And I just want my colleagues to be aware of that. And we also, I think, now have a stronger and more functional youth Congress than we've ever had before, able to look at and analyze information and come forward and give us recommendations about policy. We saw that last year with the work that we did with our tobacco use and regulations and e-cigarettes and also flavored tobacco. And I think the Youth Congress and the Youth Coordinating Board played a really critical role in that, not just bringing forward the recommendations that were very thoughtful, but also in helping us then communicate and share those with store owners, with community members and others, and facilitate a meeting with lobbyists and owners of some of the largest chains of tobacco retailers, I guess you'd say, and youth, so that they could come together and have a discussion and understand a little bit better on those perspectives. We're also, I think, trying to zero in and hone in on possible creation of an opportunity hub or opportunity center in Cedar Riverside. And I think it's been really helpful that the interest that's growing there out of the Cedar Riverside Partnership has come to the Youth Coordinating Board, because the Youth Coordinating Board has resources and we have professionals and some expertise who we can pull together the youth workers in the area, employment agencies, and those kinds of things, and bring added value to it. So I just want everyone to be aware of that and see it as a tool as you're working on different things and policies that you're bringing forward. And let us know what we can do on the Youth Coordinating Board to help the good work that you want to do. Thank you. And thank you, Ann, and the whole team for a great job.
We've got a team.
Thank you very much, Mr. Groot, and all of YCB staff
Thanks.
for this presentation. Happy, I'm sure you'll take any other questions offline if you'd like to do that. But I think we're in great shape. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our work for the morning. Is that correct, Ms. Giesler? Are there any other presentations? There are no more presentations this morning, right? So we'll be reconvening in the afternoon to address the Minneapolis Park Board budget and the Municipal Building Commission budget. Thank you.